Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Jerome Ternynck. I'm the founder and CEO of SmartRecruiters, and talking to you here, reporting live from San Francisco. And we're going to talk about TA trends in 2021. I think we've all seen how much the world has changed, and frankly, how much talent acquisition has evolved in the past years. And you know, some of the things that happen is like, yes, we're starting to work remote, but what that meant is like now we can actually hire remotely. And in many organizations, this has completely changed the way that people think about recruiting, the role of recruiting inside organizations. And for us as TA professionals, as a result, like what do we actually do and how can we position ourselves in organization? So I got a few big trends that we've seen, and at SmartRecruiters, we work with hundreds, if not thousands, of large organizations. So we've seen all flavors of organizations, some that have accelerated heavily during the crisis, like LinkedIn or Twitter or Visa, others that actually have to scale down in retail, others that have seen different effects that have to restructure. So this is a bit of a combination of like what we've seen and where do we see the market evolving from this. And we got some really, really interesting trends here. So the first one I'd mention is, I think that TA should own internal mobility. We've actually seen that in this moment of rapid change, talent acquisition is actually much better equipped than the traditional HR function to drive fluid internal mobility processes. And clearly, jobs filled internally are on the rise. There's a significant increase here, but the historical view of talent, internal mobility has been driven by HR, by career management, by talent development, and all of this is very good. But what has been the missing point is like, how do you actually match people to jobs? How do you connect people to jobs? And that's what TA knows how to do, right? So the reality is we need to combine both approaches. And I think as we are seeing here is that talent acquisition owns internal mobility, and they should be hunting internally so that employees shouldn't have it harder. Like 80% of people today will tell you it's harder to find a job internally than externally. That's really, really stupid. And it's an opportunity for talent acquisition to step up and to apply strong marketing principles to internal mobility. So really like full-on CRM, talent pools of people to be redeployed, talent pools of people who are ready for to move, and really like having strong internal talent profiles and using the full stack of talent acquisition tools to actually drive business outcome. And internal mobility is hiring success, right? So here we've seen many organizations step up. One good example was one of our customers, Publicis, 90,000 employees, many advertising and PR agencies around the world, lots of different brands. And in the middle of the pandemic, they actually created a platform called the Gigs platform, and they actually allowed anybody from anywhere in the group to actually apply to any job. And this could be a job for a month, for 3 months, for 6 months, or a permanent transfer. And through this program, just by bringing strong mobility inside the org, they said they saved over 2,000 jobs from people who would have otherwise been furloughed or even worse, made redundant. And I think this is a good lesson learned that actually when you allow talent acquisition to hunt internally, to advertise job internally, to really market internally, and you remove the barriers like the process that says you're not allowed to apply if you are not 2 years in your job, you're not allowed to apply if you haven't asked your manager. Like all of these processes should be removed, because the reality is I can apply to our competitor without asking my manager. I can apply to the competitor even if I'm 1 year in the job. So why would you prevent me from expressing a desire to move internally because you're putting some rules, right? So let's use this moment in time for talent acquisition to really own the internal talent marketplace and give it use its marketing and matching capabilities to give a meaning to the internal talent marketplace. The second trend that we are actually seeing is very closely related to that, and it's investing in upskilling, right? Today, internal careers, internal mobility is much less about career, and it's much more about experiences and skills, right? And this type of mobility scenarios are not planned or programmed into career models. They happen in like real time. And so the platforms we need are different, right? This is from Josh Bersin, whom many of you would know. And it actually really sounds very, very true. If you want a skills marketplace, you're not going to find this in your competency model. You're not going to find this in your career planning. You're not going to find this in learning and development. Yes, of course, all these programs are here to help people progress in their career, but at some point you need a market, right? You need fluidity in the market, and that to me is an opportunity for talent acquisition, because talent acquisition is uniquely positioned from the platform that they have, usually uniquely positioned to be the matchmaker. So position yourself as a recruiter, as the matchmaker for internal mobility. And the last benefit, I think, of this transparent approach to internal mobility is also that you drive more diversity. And diversity hiring is a very clear trend that we have been seeing here in the market. And one that I think talent acquisition has a critical role to play in. And it's a time for actually TA to step up and be a change agent, be a driver of a better diversity and inclusion. And so we worked actually to create a diversity hiring toolkit, which I would encourage you to look at on the hiringsuccess.com website. There's a full toolkit of, okay, how do you drive better diversity hiring outcomes? So we came up with a model that has clear like processes, like how do you actually do it? Because many people think about, oh, diversity hiring, that's cute, but how do I do it? I don't know. And then they try to influence sourcing, or they try to limit discrimination, but there's actually no framework. So we actually created that framework, and it looks at all dimensions of diversity hiring. Obviously, what is your brand equity? So show your commitment to diversity, have job descriptions that are bias-free, and have an accessible hiring process. So this is the first kind of pillar of the diversity hiring success model. Second, apply strategic sourcing. So tailored sourcing to the right audience, the right community that you're looking for, and leverage your CRM to build community of diverse talent. And then, as I was mentioning, source internally with a fair internal hiring, right? The moment that internal mobility becomes fair and transparent is the moment that you actually have more diversity, more inclusion in the business, right? Because otherwise, the best jobs are for the friend of the boss and not for the best candidate. And you need to make sure that internally that every job is given to the best candidate. And that is done with a fair internal hiring process rather than a promotion of my friend type process. The third pillar is fair hiring practices. So start by having a diverse hiring teams. Remove bias in screening. There's good tools. AI can actually help here to avoid any bias and anonymous resume reviews. And then structure your interview process such that the feedback from interviews is transparent, it's clear, and it follows a clear scorecard that is based on must achieves, as opposed to arbitrary, like, did I like this person? Yeah, we both go sailing, and he's a white dude as well, and so I want to hire him, right? So you actually remove the bias here with a set of practices. And then, of course, you need organizational support for this with clear specific hiring goals. So set targets for what do you want to achieve. Leadership accountability. Hiring managers need to be accountable for diversity in their teams, and then ongoing training. And I think that we can actually, as a TA function, we can own this. And this has the agenda of the CEO. The CEO wants to drive more diversity, and we can be a good partner for this. And so in this respect, I would encourage you, take the diversity hiring assessment. It's actually a really good toolkit. Just go there and take the assessment to self-evaluate how mature are you on these best practices of diversity hiring, and then use this to actually create a diversity hiring blueprint and step up to management to say, all right, this is where we are. It's not good. Usually it's not good. This is where we are. It's not good. Here is the blueprint of what I want to drive forward, and take it one step at a time to actually help the organization understand the value of diversity and inclusion, and how to get there. The fourth trend that we are seeing in for TA here is an interesting one, and it's the end of traditional job advertising. I mean, we are now heading into a period which I think will be called the great rehire, right? Everybody gets rehired, and that fluctuation here, the amount of people on the market, kind of shows that the model of advertising is not working anymore, right? It's like you post your job, and if you are a good brand, you post your job, the next morning you get 1,000 resumes. Right? So what, right? Like, do you want 1,000 resumes? No, you don't, right? Do you want 10,000 resumes, or would you rather have 100 resumes? Or actually, what you really need is probably 5 resumes that are good enough to be interviewed, and then you can make a good hiring decision. And this model of advertising is not working today. And I think we are seeing a change in job advertising, which is right now it's really hard to allocate, the budget to the right jobs, to the right channels. And so you're not only receiving too many applicants, but it's really hard to say which applicants, and you're really like spray and pray remains the thing. And we have now seen that this evolution of advertising is moving towards what we call a pipeline-aware advertising, right? So you think in the 2000s, we started to post jobs, right? Job posting, 30-day job posting on this job board. Okay, fine. Then there was the slot variation of the job posting that got there, but it's the same principle. And then we went to pay-per-click. So at least there's some level of performance that's Indeed, and others are going there. And then we went to programmatic, which is, okay, I start to distribute my my money programmatically to the right sources. But at that level, we're still very early compared to what our marketing colleagues are doing and how they allocate their advertising budget. And the truth is, what you need is really a pipeline-aware advertising that not only distributes your budget to the right sources for the right jobs at the right time. And pipeline-aware means, yeah, we interviewed 2 great candidates for this job yesterday. One of them is moving to offer. Obviously, you shouldn't be spending more money right now to get more new candidates for this job because you don't need them. But that seems obvious, but it's not happening, right? No advertising tool yet is available that understands your pipeline, understands how much money should you be spending on which sources, when and where. And I think we're going to see that with an increase of quality of advertising. That's our fourth trend. And pay attention to the changing mode of job advertising. Trend number 5, driven by increased volume and by just availability of technology, is the automation everywhere. Like, we're seeing people are really going to automate more and more on their recruiting processes. If we're going to hire and process hundreds of thousands of people a year, this is from Amazon, like you can't afford to do it in the same way. And from a candidate experience perspective, it's also like, yeah, I can apply, and then I never hear back from you. This doesn't work. So we're seeing more and more automation that drives first a better experience. So automation enables a faster, more responsive experience for candidates. Automation then enables faster conversions, like how you convert candidates. This is more like, you know, apply here and fill in my form versus, okay, yeah, let me ask you a question. Oh, that sounds interesting. And then you actually engage people in different ways. And then to a higher efficiency internally for you, because as candidate volumes are increasing, but budgets aren't, you need to actually do more with less, or do a better job at allocating and prioritizing your resources. And so for all those reasons, we're seeing a massive trend towards more automation. And the value of automation done right is really like at all levels, right? It's like efficiency gains in screening and ranking of candidates, that's very clear. It's a good language with tone of voice and brand coherence, so you always answer to candidates in the right way with the chatbots. It's a high approval rate from candidates, like candidates absolutely love to engage with a tool rather than with a wall, right? So the conversation is a lot better. And we see the conversion rates go like triple what they were. So you actually are better not only at engaging candidates, but you're actually converting the right candidates better. And then you can automate all the way to interview scheduling, right? It's like, hey, hi, how are you? Is there a job? Yeah, that's interesting. Let me ask you a few questions. Oh, you look like a good candidate. Can I have your resume? Okay, great, that's fine. We would like to schedule a phone interview for you. When can you pick an option? On Tuesday? Okay, Tuesday, you are confirmed. Like nothing has that, no human has touched it, and you already have pre-screened scheduled phone interviews or real interviews, depending on your industry, that are happening. And you get insights as well into what matter to candidates, and very good personalized answer to the actual candidate. So I think as we look through this level of changes that are happening to recruiting, we're coming off a year that's been very, very, very difficult for many people, personally, professionally. Many recruiters around the world have lost their jobs. Many people around the world have lost their jobs. We've all had difficult family situations. But I would encourage you to look at 2021 with a fresh eye that goes and says, well, actually, in my business, I'm going to make a case to own internal mobility because I have the right tech stack to make it happen, and to build a skills marketplace that actually allocates the right employees to the right job. I'm going to embrace diversity hiring because I know it matters and the CEO wants me to be there. I'll be more and more efficient at spending my budgets on advertising, and I will look for opportunities to automate so that the basic tasks are being taken care of, and I can focus on being a real business partner and a true value add to the business, delivering hiring success, which, as we all know, hiring success is the ability to hire amazing talent on demand. That's what the CEO wants, and ultimately, you are who you hire. Thank you so much for having me today. Enjoy the rest of your day.